Auto Mondial is sponsored by Trade Centre. Welcome to Auto Mondial, the weekly car news and review show, where this time we're heading to Chelsea for the 2023 Salon Prive London.
With everything from multi-million-pound classics to the latest EVs at hypercars, the capital's most exclusive car show had it all.
Before we head there though, a look at this week's news. JLR has announced plans to reposition itself as an electric-first luxury car brand. As part of a £15 billion investment over the next 5 years, Jaguar and Land Rover are ramping up their efforts to become a leader in EV manufacturing. Having squandered its previous opportunity to become a front-runner in the electric car market with a superb but abandoned Jaguar I-Pace platform, JLR has confirmed that its Harewood plant will become an all-electric facility to produce the next-generation medium-sized Land Rover and Jaguar SUVs. The news follows the announcement that Jaguar is heading further upmarket with 3 new EVs, the first of which will be a 4-door Grand Tourer built at the Solihull factory in the Midlands.
Salon Prive London is not your typical classic car show. There are no MGBs on village greens, and instead of ice cream vans serving Mr. Whippies, there are champagne and oyster bars. For the second year in a row, the great and the good descended on the Royal Chelsea Hospital to see some of the rarest and most valuable cars in the world. Unlike most car shows, everything at Salon Prive is for sale, including this remarkable Aston Martin DB2/4 by Vignale. Built in 1954, it was commissioned by the King of Belgium and is one of only 12 ever made. The striking bodywork was much different to that of a standard DB2, with the sort of elegance and style that could only have come from an Italian coach builder. The mechanicals are standard Aston though, meaning its long bonnet houses a 2.9-litre straight six, producing 140 horsepower. Going on to spend most of its life in America, the Aston is fresh from a total restoration. Want it? Well, it's yours for a cool £3.65 million.
Numerous stars were in attendance, including Richard Hammond showing off his restoration company's latest project, a beautiful 1947 Chaperon body Delahaye. The car's first owner was the famous Monegasco racing driver Louis Chiron, but during restoration in 2012 it was painted black. Last year the current owner decided it should go back to how Chiron ordered it and tasked Hammond's Hereford-based company to return it to factory spec.
Salon Prive, though, is more than just a classic car show. Numerous manufacturers were in attendance showing off their latest models. And one of the highlights was this, the famous Hennessy Venom F5 Roadster. It's a convertible hypercar from Texas, designed to break the 300 miles per hour barrier with its 6.6-litre twin-turbo V8. It produces a mind-blowing 1,817 brake horsepower and has a dry weight of less than 1.4 tons. Performance then is lively to say the least, completing the 0 to 62 mph sprint in less than 3 seconds and going on to 124 mph in less than 5. Naturally, all this straight-line speed doesn't come cheap. It's priced at $2.5 million before taxes.
But the Venom wasn't the only six-figure missile on display. This is the Delage D12, and it appears to have landed here from another planet. In reality, that other planet is France. The D12 is the first new Delage in 70 years, having been recently relaunched by a group of French billionaires. They assembled a crack team of experts, including Formula One world champion Jacques Villeneuve, and 5 years later, this is the result. It's an utterly beguiling creation, with a tandem seating position, a canopy that opens like a fighter jet's, and a central driving position for a real race car experience on the road. Remarkably, it features an all-new 7.6-litre naturally aspirated V12, developed by Delage themselves, producing 990 brake horsepower. A further modest boost in power comes from a low-voltage electric motor. Naturally, it's mostly made of carbon fibre, from the monocoque chassis to the wheels, and the F1 technology doesn't stop there. The D12 is the only road car in the world with contractive suspension, a system that revolutionised top-flight motorsport in the 1990s. Only 30 Delage D12s will be built, each individually tailored to its lucky owner.
On the slightly more attainable end of the automotive spectrum was this trio of Maseratis. All three of the Italian brand's new models were present: the Grecale, the MC20 and the Gran Turismo, seen here in Trofeo spec. Maserati claims to have invented the Grand Tourer in 1947, and the recipe hasn't changed much since then. The new GT has a big engine up front, some very comfy seats in the middle, and a terrific noise coming out of the back. There are 3 versions on offer, starting with the entry-level Modena and the electric Folgore. However, this Trofeo model is the one that we find most appealing. Under the long bonnet sits a 542 brake horsepower twin-turbo V6, a detuned version of the engine from the MC20 supercar. That might not seem as evocative as the big V8 of the old car, but it certainly packs a punch, launching the svelte coupe from 0 to 62 in 3.5 seconds, onto a top speed of nearly 200 miles per hour.
But these days, Maserati isn't just building supercars and Grand Tourers. This is the Maserati Grecale, a smaller SUV than the existing Levante, available as an EV. It's based on a heavily revised version of the Alfa Romeo Stelvio's platform, so petrolheads needn't worry, there is a petrol version too. And this is it. Seen here in top-spec Trofeo trim, it gets a familiar twin-turbocharged V6, producing an impressive 523 bhp, 20 more than you get in a Stelvio Quadrifoglio. It'll hit 62 miles per hour from a standstill in 3.8 seconds and reach a top speed of 177. On paper then, it's certainly a match for the Porsche Macan and BMW X3M. Entry-level GT models and mid-spec models get a turbocharged 2-litre mild hybrid setup, producing 296 and 325 bhp respectively. On the styling front, it borrows a handful of design cues from the new MC20 supercar, but otherwise looks largely like a shrunken Levante. Inside, it gets plenty of leather and carbon fibre, with a pair of big screens and a new digital clock on top of the dash, which acts as a digital assistant similar to Siri or Alexa. The EV, meanwhile, shall be known as the Grecale Folgore, or Lightning in English. It's the first of 6 new EVs that Maserati has planned, and while its range is yet to be confirmed, Maserati has confirmed it will live up to the Trident badge with its performance. It'll have around 540 horsepower on tap and 590 foot-pounds of instant electric torque, so we can expect it to be quick. There are 1 or 2 minor styling and aerodynamic tweaks for the Folgore, but both versions look very tempting alternatives to the ubiquitous German offerings. Join us again after the break as we bring you more from Salon Prive London. Auto Mondial is sponsored by Trade Centre. Auto Mondial is sponsored by Trade Centre.
Welcome back to Auto Mondial and to part 2 of our coverage from Salon Prive London. Having looked at the latest hypercars sat on the lawns of the Royal Chelsea Hospital, it's worth noting some of the retro supercars in attendance, like this fabulous Ford GT. A brilliantly blue-collar alternative to the Italian exotica of the day, the 2005 GT was a modern interpretation of the car Ford built to beat Ferrari 40 years earlier. While the dimensions were slightly more generous than those of the original GT40, the GT's retro styling and racing stripes look as exciting today as they did 18 years ago. Powered by a 5.4-litre V8, the G8 could do 0 to 62 in under 4 seconds and crack 200 miles per hour. When it was new, the GT cost around £110,000, and nowadays you'll be looking up to 4 times that for the noughties icon.
If you've got even more cash burning a hole in your wallet, how about one of these? Another poster car of the 2000s, the Maserati MC12 looks just as wild as ever with its massive overhangs and humongous rear wing. This one in particular looked especially exuberant with its unique blue carbon bodywork. It's hard to appreciate just how big the MC12 is until you see it in person. You need to do some stretches before attempting to walk all the way around it. It's wider than a Hummer H2, and with no back window, you wouldn't want to try parallel parking in it. Based on the Ferrari Enzo, the MC12 was a homologation special, allowing Maserati to compete in the FIA GT1 class, where it found great success. The road car proved less popular, with journalists comparing it unfavourably to the smaller, more user-friendly Enzo. It seems, though, that the market loves an underdog, with values for the 50 road-going cars made now well into 6 figures.
If you want real exclusivity, though, look no further than this, the Jaguar XJR15. Built by Jaguar Sport, a subsidiary of Jaguar and Tom Walkinshaw Racing, the XJR15 was the first all-carbon supercar, but it has already been outshone by the likes of the XJ220 and the McLaren F1. Its screaming Jag V12 produced 450 bhp, plenty in a car that weighed little over a tonne. Now, you'll hear countless manufacturers bill their latest sports cars as race cars for the road, but the Jaguar really was. Following the XJR9 success at Le Mans, motorsport legend Tom Walkinshaw decided they should do a road-going version. Of course, a lot of changes had to be made, but in 1991 the car was launched with a price tag of £500,000. To boost slow sales, a race series was devised. 16 race cars were built, including this one, driven by Juan Manuel Fangio's nephew. In the end, just 3 races took place, supporting Formula One at Monaco, Silverstone and Spa, with the series winner receiving a $1 million cash prize.
Heading back to the 21st century, there were plenty of the latest and greatest EVs to check out, including this, the new Polestar 3. The first SUV from Volvo's electric sibling, the new 3 is its first SUV and is set to take on the BMW iX and Audi Q8 e-tron. Polestar is fast becoming one of the most recognisable EV brands, and the 3 shares its clean, minimalist design language with existing Polestar 2 saloon cars. Sharing a platform with the new Volvo EX90, the Polestar gets a dual motor setup producing 483 brake horsepower or 510 with the optional performance pack, which will get the 2.5-ton SUV from 0 to 62 in 4.7 seconds. The 111 kilowatt-hour battery provides up to 379 miles of range and can be charged from 10 to 80% in half an hour with a 250 kilowatt charger. There's bi-directional functionality too, meaning you can feed power back to the grid. Air suspension is fitted as standard, with performance pack models getting a special calibration and 22-inch forged alloy wheels for enhanced handling. Inside, it's as classy and modern as we'd expect from Polestar, with a thoroughly Scandinavian vibe throughout and plenty of sustainably sourced materials. A 14.5-inch portrait infotainment screen features the latest Android automotive operating system, while a modest digital dash proves that screens don't need to be massive to be beautiful. The first customer deliveries are expected later this year, with prices starting at just under £80,000.
Salon Prive offers some of the most exciting cars from yesteryear and the present day, and perhaps no car summed up that theme like this old Porsche. It may appear to be just an old 911 Cabrio, but take a peek under the deck lid and you'll find it full of batteries. This is an Abarth 911, a gorgeous blend of 80s style and modern day technology. Using a 964 generation 911 as a base, the Anglo-American EV specialists carefully removed the old flat 6 and installed a 62 kilowatt-hour battery pack, sending 440 bhp to the rear wheels, a jump of almost 200 horsepower from the old Boxer engine. But if ripping out a flat 6 in favour of a battery sends a chill down your petrol-soaked spine, don't worry. The conversion is totally reversible should you decide to go back to factory spec. The range is said to be somewhere around the 200-mile mark, with prices starting at £270,000 plus taxes and a donor car.
But what if you want some fast EV thrills but don't have that kind of cash? Well, Abarth has just the thing. Making its UK debut at Salon Prive, the Abarth 500e is the latest in a long line of souped-up Fiats from the maddest tuning firm in all of Italy. It's the first proper electric hot hatch and it looks fantastic. Based on the new Fiat 500, the Abarth 500e is faster, angrier and totally in your face, just like an Abarth should be. The regular Fiat styling has been transformed with bigger wheels, a body kit and a shed load of Abarth badges. The famous Scorpion logo has been refreshed to represent its new electric intentions, but there's no mistaking it. The old model's famous chrome moustache has gone from the front bumper, replaced by simple Abarth script, with the badge moving up onto the bonnet. At the back, there's no record Monza exhaust system to pop and bang, but Abarth has remedied the lack of pipes with some artificial noise from internal and external speakers. It's supposed to replicate the sound of the amusingly flatulent 695 Competizione, but in person it sounded like what it was, a rather tinny speaker mounted underneath a car. The interior has had a sporty makeover with a new steering wheel and new sports seats. It's worth remembering, though, that this launch-spec Scorpionissima is the only version for now, and if the petrol one is anything to go by, there will be plenty more special editions to come, no doubt with lashings of carbon fibre and Alcantara. It's also worth pointing out that on paper, the new 500e doesn't seem that quick compared with the latest hot petrol versions. It is quicker than basic 595s though, and again we could see faster versions arrive once they've improved the range. The front-mounted electric motor sends 152 bhp to the front wheels for a 0 to 62 time of 7 seconds. Less powerful and slower than a 695, but Abarth says the new EV is quicker around a track thanks to its instant torque and improved handling that comes with its larger footprint. The Abarth makes use of the same 42 kilowatt-hour battery as the Fiat version, but the range has dropped from 199 miles to just 155 due to the increased performance. It does have the same 85 kilowatt DC charging rate though, so it can be topped up quickly, going from nearly empty to 80% charged in 30 minutes. The Abarth 500e is available to order now, priced a few £100 shy of £39,000.
Join us again next week on Auto Mundial as we get our first look at the all-new Mercedes E-Class.
Auto Mundial is sponsored by Trade Centre.